The carnival lights danced across the evening sky, casting a kaleidoscope of colors over the fairgrounds. The air was thick with the scent of cotton candy, caramel apples, and that distinct carnival aroma that somehow blends fried foods with excitement. For most people, this was a place of joy and carefree abandon, but for Alex, it was a battlefield of social anxiety. He hadn't even wanted to come tonight, but his roommate had practically dragged him out of their apartment, insisting that a night of fun was exactly what Alex needed after weeks of burying himself in work and studies. So here he was, hands shoved deep in his pockets, shoulders slightly hunched, trying to navigate the crowds without drawing attention to himself. Alex was the kind of person who preferred the company of books to people. At 25, he had mastered the art of blending into backgrounds, of being present without being noticed. His dark brown hair fell slightly over his eyes, giving him a shield behind which to observe the world. And observe he did. Alex noticed details others missed. The way the carnival worker at the ring toss slightly favored his left arm, the child who had lost her parents and was trying not to cry, the elderly couple sharing a funnel cake with the comfortable silence of decades together. It was while he was watching this couple that Alex first noticed Jamie. It would have been hard not to notice Jamie, actually. He moved through the carnival like he owned it, with a confidence that was magnetic rather than arrogant. His laugh carried over the din of the crowd, genuine and inviting. He high-fived a child who had just won a stuffed animal, complimented an elderly woman on her hat, and seemed to make everyone around him smile a little brighter. Alex found himself staring, captivated by this human embodiment of everything he was not. Jamie's hair was a mess of golden curls that caught the carnival lights, creating a halo effect that seemed almost too on the nose for someone with such an angelic presence. His white t-shirt was simple but fit him perfectly, and his jeans were worn in all the right places. But it was his eyes that Alex couldn't look away from. Even from a distance, they sparkled with life and mischief, crinkling at the corners when he smiled, which was often. Alex didn't realize he had stopped walking until someone bumped into him from behind, muttering an apology before moving on. He shook his head, trying to clear it of thoughts of the stranger, and continued his reluctant exploration of the carnival. He passed game booths where barkers called out challenges, food stalls emanating tempting aromas, and rides that spun and twisted with screaming passengers. None of it appealed to him. He was just about to text his roommate that he was heading home when he spotted a vintage photo booth tucked between a cotton candy vendor and a fortune teller's tent. There was something about the booth that called to him. Perhaps it was its retro charm, with its faded red curtain and slightly peeling paint, or maybe it was the fact that it offered a moment of solitude in the chaos of the carnival. Whatever the reason, Alex found himself drawn to it. He approached slowly, running his fingers over the worn metal exterior. A sign advertised for poses, for memories, $5, in charmingly outdated typography. Alex smiled to himself, thinking it might be nice to have a souvenir of the night, even if it was just him alone in a booth. At least he could show his roommate he'd try to have fun. Just as he was about to step inside, a voice called out behind him. "Hey, are you about to use that?" Alex turned to find himself face to face with the golden-haired stranger he'd been watching earlier. Jamie was even more striking up close, his eyes a warm hazel that seemed to shift between green and gold in the carnival lights. Alex stammered, suddenly forgetting how words worked. "Yes? I was going to, but if you..." Jamie's face broke into a grin. Perfect timing then. These things are always better with two people, don't you think? Without waiting for an answer, he stepped forward and extended his hand. "I'm Jamie, by the way." Alex hesitated for just a moment before taking the offered hand. "Alex," he replied, surprised by the warmth and firmness of Jamie's grip. "Well, Alex," Jamie said, not letting go of his hand. "What do you say we make some memories?" There was something in the way he said it, a hint of suggestion perhaps, that made Alex's heart rate pick up. Before he could overthink it, Jamie was pulling him toward the booth, and Alex found himself following, as if drawn by an invisible force he couldn't and didn't want to resist. The photo booth was smaller than it looked from the outside, forcing them to sit close together on the narrow bench. Alex was acutely aware of Jamie's thigh pressed against his own, of the scent of his cologne, something citrusy and fresh, and of the way Jamie seemed completely at ease in this intimate space, while Alex felt like his skin was suddenly too tight for his body. "I'll handle this," Jamie said, feeding a $5 bill into the machine. The screen lit up, instructing them to get ready for the first photo in 5 seconds. "Okay, first one is silly faces," Jamie announced, as if they'd agreed on a plan. "What? I don't," Alex began, but Jamie was already making an exaggerated cross-eyed expression, his tongue sticking out of the corner of his mouth. The absurdity of it made Alex laugh, and the flash caught him mid-chuckle, his own face a mixture of surprise and genuine amusement. "Perfect," Jamie exclaimed. "Now for the second one, serious faces. Like we're sophisticated art critics at a gallery." He straightened his posture and adopted a comically stern expression, one eyebrow raised critically. Alex, finding himself caught up in Jamie's enthusiasm, played along. He narrowed his eyes thoughtfully and pursed his lips, as if contemplating a particularly challenging piece of modern art. The flash went off again, capturing their mock seriousness. "Third one," Jamie said, his voice dropping slightly. "This time, let's do something real. Just be yourself for this one." The request caught Alex off guard. Being himself wasn't something he was particularly good at, especially around others. But there was something about Jamie's direct gaze that made him want to try. As the countdown began for the third photo, Alex took a deep breath and let his guard down, allowing a small, genuine smile to form on his lips. Jamie wasn't making a face this time either. He was simply looking at Alex with an expression of curious interest, as if he was trying to read a book written in a language he was just beginning to understand. The flash went off, capturing that moment of authentic connection, and Alex felt something shift between them. The playful energy was still there, but it had deepened into something more meaningful, more real. "Last one," Jamie said softly, his eyes never leaving Alex's face. "Any ideas?" Alex's heart was pounding so loudly he was sure Jamie must hear it in the confines of the small booth. I don't know," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Jamie leaned in slightly, his gaze dropping briefly to Alex's lips before meeting his eyes again. "I have one," he murmured. "But only if you want to." Time seemed to slow down as Alex realized what Jamie was suggesting. 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind. They were strangers. They were in public. He didn't do impulsive things like this. And yet, he found himself nodding almost imperceptibly, drawn toward Jamie like a moth to flame. The countdown for the final photo began, but Alex barely registered it. All he knew was that Jamie was closing the distance between them, his hand gently cupping Alex's cheek, and then their lips were touching. The kiss was soft, tentative at first, a question rather than a demand. Alex answered by leaning into it, his eyes fluttering closed as the flash went off, immortalizing the moment. When they broke apart, Alex felt slightly dazed, as if he'd stepped off a spinning ride. Jamie was looking at him with a mixture of wonder and delight, his thumb gently stroking Alex's cheekbone where his hand still rested. "That," Jamie said, his voice slightly breathless, "was definitely worth the $5. Alex couldn't help but laugh, the tension of the moment breaking into something warm and comfortable. "I've never done anything like that before," he admitted. "Kissed a stranger in a photo booth?" Jamie asked, his eyes twinkling. "Kissed a stranger anywhere," Alex replied honestly. "I'm not usually so spontaneous." Jamie's expression softened. "Well, I'm honored to be your first photo booth kiss, then." He finally dropped his hand from Alex's face, but didn't move away. "And for the record, I don't make a habit of kissing strangers either. There's just something about you, Alex." The way Jamie said his name made Alex's stomach flip. Before he could respond, the machine outside the booth made a whirring sound, indicating that their photos were being printed. Jamie slipped out of the booth to retrieve them, leaving Alex alone for a moment to collect his thoughts. What had just happened? Had he really just kissed a complete stranger? And more importantly, why did it feel so right? Jamie returned with the strip of photos, his face lit up with delight. "These are perfect," he declared, sliding back into the booth beside Alex and holding up the strip so they could both see. The first photo showed Jamie's silly face and Alex's surprised laugh, capturing a moment of pure, unguarded joy. The second displayed their mock-serious expressions, both trying so hard not to smile that it was obvious they were about to break. The third was more subdued, but somehow more intimate. Just the two of them looking at each other with genuine interest and openness. And the fourth showed their kiss, Jamie's hand on Alex's cheek, both of their expressions peaceful and right, as if they'd done this 100 times before. "Can I keep these?" Jamie asked, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. "Or we could split them, cut them in half." Alex looked at the photos again, at the visual evidence of the connection they'd formed in just a few minutes. "No, don't cut them," he said. "That would be like dividing the memory. You can keep them, but—" He hesitated, gathering his courage. "Maybe you could give me your number? So I can see them again sometime." Jamie's face broke into a radiant smile. "I was hoping you'd ask that." He pulled out his phone, and they exchanged numbers, their fingers brushing as they handed their phones back and forth. It was a small touch, nothing compared to the kiss they'd just shared, but it sent the same electric current through Alex's body. As they stepped out of the photo booth together, the carnival seemed different to Alex. The lights were still bright, the crowd still noisy, but it no longer felt overwhelming. Instead, it felt like the perfect backdrop for the beginning of something new and exciting. "So, Alex," Jamie said, slipping the photo strip carefully into his wallet, "what do you say we explore this carnival together? I hear the Ferris wheel provides an excellent opportunity for a second kiss." Alex felt a blush creep up his neck, but he didn't look away. "I'd like that," he replied, surprised by his own boldness. "Lead the way." The days following their carnival encounter were a whirlwind for Alex. He kept expecting to wake up and realize it had all been a dream. The photo booth, the kiss, exchanging numbers with the most captivating person he'd ever met. But his phone buzzed with texts from Jamie throughout each day, little messages that made him smile and blush and check his phone more often than he ever had before. Their first official date was at a small cafe 3 days after the carnival. Alex arrived 15 minutes early, his stomach in knots, convinced that in the harsh light of day, away from the magical atmosphere of the carnival, whatever spark they'd felt would fizzle out. He chose a table in the corner, ordered a coffee to have something to do with his hands, and waited, trying not to watch the door too obviously. When Jamie walked in, the entire cafe seemed to brighten. He was wearing a blue button-down shirt that made his eyes look even more striking, and his hair was slightly damp, as if he'd just showered. He spotted Alex immediately, and his face lit up with a smile that made Alex's heart stutter. This wasn't going to fizzle out. If anything, the spark had grown stronger. "Hey you," Jamie said, sliding into the seat across from Alex. "Sorry if I'm late. I changed my outfit 3 times, which is not something I normally admit on a first date, but I'm trying this new thing called honesty." He grinned, a slight flush coloring his cheeks. Alex felt something tight in his chest loosen. Jamie was nervous too. Somehow, that made everything easier. "You look great," he said, surprising himself with his directness. "Blue suits you." Jamie's smile widened. "Thank you. You look pretty amazing yourself." His eyes lingered on Alex's face in a way that made Alex feel seen, truly seen, perhaps for the first time. Their conversation flowed easily after that. They discovered they had more in common than they might have guessed. A love of old movies, a shared addiction to true crime podcasts, the same favorite book from childhood. But it was their differences that fascinated Alex the most. Jamie was studying marine biology, passionate about ocean conservation in a way that made his whole face animate when he talked about it. He played guitar in a band with his friends on weekends, volunteered at an animal shelter, and seemed to approach life with an openness that both intimidated and inspired Alex. "What about you?" Jamie asked, leaning forward with genuine interest. "What makes Alex tick?" Alex hesitated. His life seemed so small and ordinary compared to Jamie's. "I'm finishing my master's in library science," he said finally. "I work part-time at the university library. It's not very exciting, but I love it. Being surrounded by books, helping people find exactly what they're looking for even when they're not sure what that is." "That doesn't sound boring at all," Jamie replied, his expression thoughtful. "It sounds like you're a guide, someone who helps others navigate through knowledge and stories." "That's beautiful, Alex." The way Jamie saw beauty in the things Alex had always considered mundane was disarming. Throughout their date, Alex found himself opening up more and more, sharing thoughts and feelings he usually kept to himself. When Jamie reached across the table to take his hand, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. They stayed at the cafe until closing time, and then walked together through the city streets, their hands finding each other's again as if drawn by magnetic force. When they reached the point where they needed to head in different directions, Jamie turned to face Alex, his expression serious for once. I know this might sound crazy, given that we've known each other for all of 3 days, but I really like you, Alex. There's something special happening here, don't you think? Alex nodded, unable to find words for the swirl of emotions in his chest. Instead, he leaned forward and kissed Jamie, right there on the street corner, under the glow of a streetlight. It wasn't their first kiss, but in many ways, it felt like it. Deliberate, chosen, not caught up in the spontaneity of a carnival night, but grounded in the reality of getting to know each other and liking what they found. When they pulled apart, Jamie's eyes were shining. "I'll take that as a yes," he said softly, pressing his forehead against Alex's for a moment before stepping back. "Call me tomorrow?" "I will," Alex promised, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. The weeks that followed were filled with more dates, dinners, movies, walks in the park, and one memorable afternoon when Jamie took Alex to the aquarium where he volunteered, giving him a behind-the-scenes tour that included feeding the sea turtles. They learned each other's habits and quirks, discovered each other's pasts and dreams for the future. Jamie met Alex's roommate and charmed him completely. Alex was introduced to Jamie's eclectic group of friends and was surprised to find himself welcomed warmly into their circle. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. As their relationship deepened, Alex's insecurities began to surface. He couldn't shake the feeling that Jamie, with his vibrant personality and seemingly endless social connections, would eventually grow tired of Alex's quieter nature. These fears came to a head one night after they attended a party thrown by one of Jamie's bandmates. Alex had spent most of the evening feeling out of place, watching as Jamie effortlessly worked the room, laughing and chatting with everyone. When Jamie finally made his way back to Alex's side, he found him withdrawn and quiet. "Hey, what's wrong?" Jamie asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "Nothing," Alex replied automatically, then sighed. "Actually, no, that's not true. I don't know if I fit into your life, Jamie. You're so good with people, so comfortable in these social situations, and I'm just not. I feel like I'm holding you back." Jamie's expression softened. "Alex, do you know what I was doing all night?" When Alex shook his head, Jamie continued, "I was telling everyone about you. About how my boyfriend is this incredibly smart, thoughtful person who sees the world in ways that amaze me every day. About how you recommended a book to Mia that completely changed her perspective on her thesis. About how you notice when I'm stressed before I even realize it myself." The word boyfriend made Alex's heart skip. They hadn't officially defined their relationship yet, and hearing Jamie use that term so naturally, so publicly, was both thrilling and terrifying. "You're not holding me back," Jamie said firmly, taking Alex's hands in his. "You're showing me a different way to experience life. A deeper way. And yes, I like parties and people, but I also like quiet evenings with you, just talking or reading together. Both things can be true, Alex. I can be social and still value introspection. I can love being around crowds and still find the most peace when it's just you and me." Alex wanted to believe him, but the doubts had taken root. What happens when you realize I'm never going to be the life of the party? When you get tired of having to explain to your friends why your boyfriend is hiding in the corner? Jamie's expression grew serious. "First of all, none of my friends think that. They think you're amazing because you are. Second, I'm not looking for another me, Alex. I'm looking for you, exactly as you are." He paused, then added more softly, "But if these situations make you uncomfortable, we can find a balance. Maybe smaller gatherings, or we don't stay as long. This isn't just about what works for me. It's about what works for us." The sincerity in Jamie's voice finally broke through Alex's wall of insecurity. He leaned forward, resting his head on Jamie's shoulder. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "I'm not used to this, being with someone, being important to someone. It scares me sometimes, how much I care about you." Jamie wrapped his arms around Alex, holding him close. "It scares me too," he admitted. "But it's a good kind of scary, don't you think? Like riding a roller coaster, terrifying but exhilarating at the same time." Alex laughed softly against Jamie's shoulder. "You would compare love to a carnival ride." It wasn't until the words had left his mouth that Alex realized what he'd said. Love. He'd used the word love. He tensed, waiting for Jamie to pull away, to tell him it was too soon, too much. Instead, Jamie tightened his embrace. "Well, we did meet at a carnival," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And for the record, I love you too, Alex." have since about the second flash in that photo booth, if I'm being honest. Alex lifted his head to look at Jamie, searching his face for any sign of hesitation or doubt. There was none, just open, honest affection that made Alex's chest ache with happiness. "I love you," he said again, this time deliberately, savoring the words. Jamie's response was to kiss him, right there in the middle of the party, not caring who saw. And for once, Alex didn't care either. Their relationship wasn't without its challenges. There were arguments about small things, misunderstandings that needed to be worked through, moments when their different approaches to life created friction rather than balance. But underneath it all was a foundation of respect and love that grew stronger with each passing day. 3 months after their first meeting, Jamie surprised Alex with a trip back to the carnival where they'd met. It had returned to town for its annual visit, and Jamie had been secretly planning the outing for weeks. He blindfolded Alex for the drive, laughing at his protests and promising it would be worth it. When the blindfold came off, Alex found himself standing at the entrance to the carnival, the same kaleidoscope of lights and sounds that had been the backdrop to their first encounter. But this time, instead of feeling overwhelmed, he felt a rush of nostalgia and affection. "I thought we should come full circle," Jamie explained, squeezing Alex's hand. "Revisit the scene of the crime, so to speak." They spent the evening reliving their first night together, riding the Ferris wheel, and yes, sharing that second kiss Jamie had promised, eating cotton candy, playing carnival games. Jamie won a stuffed penguin at the ring toss and presented it to Alex with a flourish, declaring it their firstborn child. Alex laughed until his sides hurt, marveling at how this beautiful, vibrant man could make him feel so completely himself. As the night drew to a close, Jamie led Alex to a familiar spot between the cotton candy vendor and what was now a face-painting booth. The photo booth stood just as Alex remembered it, perhaps a bit more worn around the edges, but still emanating that same vintage charm. "Shall we?" Jamie asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief and love. Alex nodded, feeling a flutter of déjà vu as they squeezed into the small space together. This time, though, there was no awkwardness, no hesitation. They fit together perfectly, Jamie's arm around Alex's shoulders, Alex's hand resting comfortably on Jamie's knee. Jamie fed a $5 bill into the machine, and the familiar instructions appeared on the screen. "Okay, first one is us 3 months ago," Jamie declared. As the countdown began, they both made exaggerated faces of surprise and uncertainty, mimicking their first meeting. "Second one is us now," Jamie continued. For this photo, they simply smiled, comfortable and happy, the contrast to their first serious photo striking in its authenticity. "Third one is why I really brought you here tonight," Jamie said, his voice suddenly nervous. As the countdown started, he shifted slightly, reaching into his pocket. Alex watched, confused, as Jamie pulled out a small velvet box. "Jamie, what?" Alex began, but his words died in his throat as Jamie opened the box to reveal a simple silver band. "I know it's fast," Jamie said quickly, his words tumbling out in a rush. "And I'm not proposing marriage, not yet. But I am proposing something. A promise. That no matter what happens, no matter where life takes us, we'll face it together. That we'll keep choosing each other every day. That this," he gestured between them, "is real and lasting and worth fighting for." The flash went off, capturing Alex's expression of shock and Jamie's nervous hope. Alex barely noticed, his focus entirely on the ring and the man holding it. "It's a promise ring," Jamie explained. "Or a pre-engagement ring. Or just a I love you and want to build a life with you ring. Call it whatever you want. But I know, with absolute certainty, that you're it for me, Alex. You're the one I want to wake up next to, argue about dishes with, grow old with. If you want that too, of course." Alex felt tears prick at his eyes. "Jamie," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Are you sure? I'm still the same person I was 3 months ago, quiet, introverted, sometimes insecure. And I'm still the same person too, talkative, occasionally overwhelming, sometimes too impulsive," Jamie replied with a soft smile. "But we work, Alex. We balance each other. You ground me, and I help you soar. It's not perfect, but it's perfectly us." The countdown for the fourth and final photo began, but neither of them was paying attention to it. Alex took the ring from the box with trembling fingers. "Yes," he said simply. "To all of it. The promise, The future, everything. Yes. Jamie's face broke into a radiant smile as he took the ring and slid it onto Alex's finger. The flash went off just as they leaned toward each other, capturing the beginning of a kiss that held all the promise of their future together. When they emerged from the photo booth, the world seemed different once again. Not because of the carnival lights or the crowds, but because Alex knew with certainty that he had found his home in Jamie's heart, just as Jamie had found his in Alex's. The photo strip they collected showed their journey, from strangers to lovers to partners, in 4 simple flashes. But the real story, Alex knew, was just beginning. As they walked hand in hand toward the exit, the silver ring catching the carnival lights, Alex thought about how one impulsive decision to step into a photo booth had changed the course of his life. How 4 flashes had captured the beginning of a love story he never expected, but now couldn't imagine living without. "What are you thinking about?" Jamie asked, squeezing his hand. Alex smiled, looking up at the man who had followed him into a photo booth and into his heart. "I'm thinking about how sometimes the most important moments in our lives happen when we least expect them, and how grateful I am that you decided to kiss a stranger in a photo booth." Jamie laughed, pulling Alex closer to his side. "Best decision I ever made," he declared. "Though technically, you weren't a complete stranger. By that point, we'd already shared 2 whole photos together. Practically a lifetime." Alex rolled his eyes, but he was smiling. "You're ridiculous." "Yes," Jamie agreed cheerfully. "But you love me anyway." And as they left the carnival behind, stepping into the night and the future that awaited them, Alex couldn't deny the simple truth of those words. He did love Jamie, completely and without reservation. And somehow, miraculously, Jamie loved him back just as fiercely. For flashes, 1 kiss, a lifetime of love. It had all started in a photo booth, but Alex knew it would continue far beyond, into apartments shared, holidays celebrated, challenges faced together, and countless moments of quiet joy and loud laughter. Their story, captured initially in 4 simple photographs, would fill albums and memories and hearts for years to come. And that, Alex thought as he leaned his head against Jamie's shoulder, was the most beautiful picture of all. Total _char_count, 18,473.